Okay, we're back, part 3 of our video on completing chapter 2 practice. We just finished using the functions average, max, and min before I left. So those are appear here, and it just averaged the column above it. Now, I could have put these anywhere, and I can provide any range I want. So they don't have to be directly underneath it. It makes sense to be directly underneath it, but there may be instances where that is not necessary. All right, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to get into some what's referred to as conditional formatting. What conditional formatting is going to do is provide a condition. Something's bigger than, something's bigger than a number, something's less than a number. And then if it meets those conditions, it's going to do a color change. So for step 10, we're going to do, we want to identify inventory costs that are over $500. And then we're going to apply a conditional formatting. So we want to select a range of cells, and then we're going to apply the formatting for 500, and we're going to make it green fill with dark green text. So the key here is greater than 500. And then we want to make it green fill, green fill with green text. And that'll be part of the conditional formatting. So we want to do D6 through D9. So come over here, and I'll just highlight our cost. Conditional formatting is in the styles group, and you can see it right here, conditional formatting. So just click that. And we want to highlight text, cell rows. So highlight cell rows. So we can just hover over that. You can see there's all sorts of different things. We could do top, bottom, highest, lowest. We can do data bars. There's a lot of different types of conditional formatting we can work with. But we're going to do highlight cell rows, and we want greater than. So this will be greater than, not greater than or equal to, but just greater than. So we'll click on that, and we get a number, and it just arbitrarily provides a number. I don't know where it comes with this, but I want 500. Don't have to worry about number formatting. There's no decimals, so we can ignore that. So then we want to do with a certain color. So there are some that are predefined. The instructions wanted green fill with dark green text. If you don't like what has been provided, you can always go to custom format, and you can choose a font size, you can do a border, you can do all sorts of different fills, that kind of stuff. So you do have a lot of options, but we do want to use green fill with dark green text. And then we'll say OK. Now the problem is this first one, excuse me, does not have anything greater than 500. It's all less than 500. So we're gonna fudge something. I'm gonna change C6 to 50. That should give us over 500. There we go. You see how it went. It's dark. It's the green with dark text. So if I undo that, you'll see it goes back to normal. All right, so I'll bring this instructions back. So we just completed this first one. Now we want to copy that to the rest of the inventory. But we're going to use what's referred to as the Format Painter. The Format Painter allows you to copy formatting and then apply it. And there's two ways of doing it. I can just highlight one cell, and the Format Painter is in the clipboard, and it's this little paintbrush. And if I click it once, you can see my pointer turns into a little heavy plus sign like it normally is. It's got a little paintbrush. So now I could just swipe across the next set. And once I let go, it's applied that formatting to those 4 cells. But notice it's reset the icon. So if I wanted, I got a lot to apply. I don't have to keep having to do this over and over again, but fortunately there is an option. So I'm just going to select one of my cells, whether it actually meets the condition or not, doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to go to that Format Painter, but this time I'm going to click my mouse button twice, just a double click, boom, boom. You don't see anything different on the icon until you apply it. So I'm going to drag over something, and you'll notice that my icon still has that paintbrush. So now I can go and apply it to the other items. And then notice that this second group for class supplies, there are no conditions that meet it. So that's why they're not formatted. So now I've applied everything I need. So I'm just going to hit the escape key on my keyboard, and it turns off the format painter. So the format painter will, in essence, copy any type of formatting, anything under the font, the alignment, the number, cell styles, any of these, anything that affects the actual cell, you can actually copy. So that can be kind of useful with that format painter. If you know you only want to apply the formatting to one other cell, then just click once. If you know you're going to apply it to a variety of cells, then you want to double click. While I know this class is only Excel, PowerPoint and Word both have the format painter, and it functions in the same way. All right, so let's bring the instructions back. So step 11, we're getting there. You want to make sure all the data displays properly in the worksheet. You also want to remove any unnecessary column widths. So what we want to do is we're going to change the column width of A to 35, and we're going to change the width of columns B through E to 10. So just click on column A. I find it's easier just to right click and choose column width. You can also go to, in this instance, it's cells, format, and you can do column width. So let's see, that's column A, so it's going to be 35. Right now it's set for 30.63. We want 35. The reason being, I'm going to hit cancel here. You'll notice down here it's truncated. So we want to have a little more space there. So let's column width 35. Oops, I don't know where the word help came from. 35. There we go. I know I was off the page. Let me just do that up here. So 35. And then we want columns B through 10. So all we have to do is select columns B through E, not B through 10, B through E. And just right click, choose column width. You could have also go to cells and format cells, and we want that to be 10. Notice how it's blank right now. That's just telling you that these columns have different widths. So we're going to do 10. And since these are all semi-related, we're going to use the same column width. All right, so that was number 11. To remove white space on the inventory worksheet, we've decided to hide 2 blank rows. So we want to hide rows 42 and 43. So if I scooch down to rows 42 and 43, I will highlight those 2. And then if I right click, I can choose hide, and it's off the screen here. So let me, I'm trying to conserve space when we create these videos. So if I right click, you can see that hide is available. You can also access it through cells, the cells group, and format. And you'll see that, where did it run? Here we go, hide. And you could unhide if you need to. So we'll just hide the rows. If there are anything in those rows, they'll be hidden. If any other cells that use formulas or functions rely on that, it's still there. It's just hiding. Hiding can be helpful if you want to have some input numbers that you don't want people to really make any changes to. All right, so let's bring the instructions back. So we just did row 12. Now, since those 2 rows, I'm sorry, step 12, since those 2 rows really were blank, you probably could just delete them. But here they wanted to explain how to use hiding. All right, so step 13. In cell D41, we want to type in the word grand total. We want it to be right aligned. And then in cell E41, we want to create a function. So there's the key there. You got to do a function. The total of the non-contiguous, remember non-contiguous are cells that are not side by side. Basically, each of those totals that we created earlier. So we want to add those all up. So I'm going to scooch this out of the way. So in D41, we're going to type in grand total. Now you'll notice it may not be very evident, but grand total barely fits in the box. But we want to make it right align. So I'm going to click on that, go to alignment, and choose right align. And it just gives you a little more space. Now, in E41, the instructions want you to use the sum function. So the equals sum. And then we're going to provide each of those cells. They want E10, E15, etc. So I'm going to click on E10 and then hit the comma, and then E15, and then do a comma. You always separate arguments with commas. Notice the color coding. We want E20, comma, E25, comma, E33, comma, and E40. So we have those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see what we've provided there. And so the sum function in previously with really the contents of E40, we just swiped these 5 cells. But here they're not together. So that's why we have to use the comma that separates those two. There would be nothing wrong if you just created a simple formula equal E10 plus E15, etc. The problem with that's why the sum function's a little easier, is that if you provide individual cells, and even with the sum function, you may make a mistake and miss a cell, or you may again make a mistake and use the same cell twice. So you do want to be a little careful there. So we'll hit enter. And we can see that the grand total is $12,618.82. Okay, so that was step 13. Now for the next one, the last one we'll do before I save this. In step 14, for a cleaner look, we want to get rid of all the grid lines. So we're going to hide the grid lines. Let's scooch this out of the way. So that's under view. And we might have to click on, I think it's show. There we go, show. If I had my screen wider, you'd see it. So it'll be in the show group called grid lines. And notice the grid lines are all those little boxes. So that is under view in the show group. You can turn that back on or turn it off depending on what you need to do. All right, so we'll stop here and then we'll finish up the assignment with the next one.